The first thing my daughter-in-law said to me that morning was not good morning. It was, "You need to leave before my parents arrive." She said it while standing in my kitchen, holding a cup of coffee I had bought with my own money, in the house I had owned for 23 years. For a few seconds, I honestly thought I had misunderstood her. I looked at my son, Daniel, who was sitting at the kitchen table with his phone in his hand. He heard every word. He didn't look up. "Excuse me?" I asked. My daughter-in-law, Rachel, sighed as though I were the one making things difficult. "My parents are coming Friday," she repeated. "They're staying for 3 weeks. They need the bedrooms upstairs, and they'll need privacy." I slowly put down my coffee. "And where am I supposed to go?" Rachel looked at me with an expression that was almost bored. "You can stay with Aunt Linda for a while. Or get a hotel. It's only temporary." Only temporary. As if my home were a hotel room she had booked. As if I were an inconvenient guest who had overstayed. I looked at Daniel. "Did you know about this?" He finally raised his eyes. "Mom." That one word told me everything. He knew. Maybe he had known for days. And instead of telling me, he had waited for Rachel to deliver the message. I nodded slowly. "All right." Rachel smiled. I could see the relief spread across her face. She thought I had surrendered. She had no idea what I was about to do. Because there was something Rachel had forgotten. She was living in my house. And I was not asking permission. 6 months earlier, Daniel and Rachel had come to me with a problem. They had bought a small plot of land and planned to build a house, but construction costs had risen sharply. They asked if they could stay with me temporarily. Just until the house is finished, Daniel had promised. I had agreed immediately. He was my son. I didn't need rent. I didn't need a contract. I told them they could use the upstairs bedrooms and share the kitchen and living room with me. At the beginning, everything was fine. Rachel was polite. Daniel was grateful. But slowly, things changed. First, Rachel began rearranging my kitchen. Then she moved my dishes. Then she told me I should stop using the dining room during her work calls. One afternoon, I came downstairs and found my favorite reading chair sitting outside in the garage. "Rachel," I asked, "why is my chair out here?" She barely looked away from her laptop. "We needed more space in the living room." I stared at her. "That chair has been there for 15 years. She shrugged. "It's just a chair." I moved it back. She moved it again the next day. That was when I realized something. Rachel wasn't behaving like someone staying in my home. She was behaving like someone taking possession of it. And Daniel kept making excuses. "She doesn't mean anything by it, Mom. She has a lot going on. Just give her some time. Don't start a fight over something small." So I kept quiet. Not because I was weak. Because I loved my son. I didn't realize that my silence was teaching them both that I would tolerate anything. Then came the morning Rachel told me to leave. I looked at her carefully. "Rachel, this is my house." "I know. And you want me to leave it?" "For a few weeks." "Why don't your parents stay at a hotel?" Her face immediately hardened. "Because they're family." I almost laughed. "I'm your family too." She folded her arms. "Yes, but they're visiting from out of state. They shouldn't have to stay in a hotel when we have a perfectly good house." "We?" She paused. Then she said something that I will never forget. "Daniel and I live here too." I looked at my son. "Daniel?" He rubbed his forehead. "Mom, please don't make this bigger than it needs to be." I felt something inside me go completely still. Not angry. Not emotional. Just finished. All right, I said. Rachel smiled. Thank you. I picked up my coffee. Then I walked upstairs. I went into my bedroom, closed the door, and called a locksmith. His name was Mr. Harris. He had changed the locks on my house several years earlier. I need every exterior lock replaced, I told him. All of them? All of them. Lost keys? No. I looked around my bedroom. I'm tired of people thinking they own my house. There was a short silence. Then he said, I'll be there tomorrow morning. Good. After I hung up, I opened my desk drawer. Inside was the folder containing my property documents. The deed. The insurance papers. The mortgage records from 23 years earlier. Everything was in my name. I had paid for the house myself after my husband died. Daniel had never paid a mortgage payment. Rachel had never paid one either. They had simply been given a place to stay. And somewhere along the way, they had mistaken kindness for ownership. That mistake was about to become very expensive. That afternoon, I went to the bank. I had been paying for most of the household groceries while Daniel and Rachel were saving money for their new house. I transferred my personal funds into a separate account. I removed Daniel from the emergency spending account I had given him. Then I called my attorney. I need to understand my rights as the homeowner. We reviewed everything. There was no lease. No ownership interest. No agreement transferring any part of the property. My attorney listened quietly as I explained what had happened. Then he said, "Do you want them out?" I looked through the office window at the street outside. Yes. Immediately? I thought for a moment. No. I want to give them reasonable time to make arrangements. He prepared the paperwork. 30 days. That was more than fair. I wasn't trying to destroy my son. I was trying to teach him something he should have learned years ago. Boundaries have consequences. That evening, Daniel found me sitting on the back porch. Mom. I didn't look up. He sat across from me. Rachel's upset. I imagine she is. She thinks you're punishing us. I didn't ask her to leave the house. She says you don't understand how important her parents' visit is. I looked at him. Daniel, your wife told your mother to leave her own home. He looked down. I know. Then why didn't you stop her? He didn't answer. That silence hurt more than Rachel's words. Finally he whispered. I didn't want another fight with her. I nodded. So you allowed me to become the price of keeping your marriage peaceful. Mom, that's not what I meant. But that's what happened. He looked ashamed. I handed him the envelope containing the notice. His face changed when he read it. 30 days? Yes. You're serious? Very. He stared at the paper. Where are we supposed to go? I smiled sadly. That's something you should have thought about before telling me where I was supposed to go. The next morning, Mr. Harris arrived. He brought new locks for every exterior door. Rachel came downstairs and saw his truck outside. What is he doing here? Changing the locks. She laughed. You're serious? Yes. You can't do that. I turned toward her. I own the house. But we live here. Temporarily. She looked at Daniel. Tell her. Daniel stood at the bottom of the stairs. He looked exhausted. Rachel. Tell her she can't just lock us out. Daniel looked at me. Then at his wife. Finally he said. She can. Rachel stared at him. What? She owns the house. It was the first time Daniel had defended me in months. Rachel's face went red. This is unbelievable. Mr. Harris continued working. One lock. Then another. The front door. The back door. The garage entrance. The side entrance. Every key they had was becoming useless. Rachel stood there watching. You're doing this because of my parents. No, I said. I'm doing this because you told me I had to leave my own home. She had no answer. For the next few days, Rachel became increasingly hostile. She stopped speaking to me. She slammed cabinets. She complained to Daniel. She called her mother repeatedly. And apparently, she told her parents that everything was arranged. They were coming. They had a place to stay. They believed the house was ready for them. Rachel even ordered groceries for their arrival. I watched the boxes arrive. I didn't say anything. On Thursday evening, Daniel came into my kitchen. Mom. Yes? Rachel still thinks you're going to change your mind. I won't. She says her parents are arriving tomorrow afternoon. I know. What are you going to do? I looked at him. Nothing. Nothing? Exactly. He frowned. I don't understand. You don't have to. Friday morning arrived. Rachel packed her suitcase. Daniel packed his briefcase. Before leaving for work, he stopped at the kitchen. Mom. I waited. I'm sorry. I nodded. I know. I should have said something earlier. Yes. I was scared. I know. He swallowed. I don't want to lose you. You won't. He looked relieved. But things are going to change. His relief disappeared. Okay. He left. At 11:30, Rachel drove to the airport. She was going to pick up her parents. I stayed home. I made tea. I cleaned my kitchen. I opened the curtains. And then I waited. At exactly 2:17 p.m., I heard cars outside. I looked through the window. Rachel's SUV entered the driveway. Behind it was another vehicle. Her parents had arrived. Her father stepped out first. Her mother followed. Both were carrying luggage. Daniel was with them. Rachel walked confidently toward my front door. She entered the code. The keypad flashed red. She frowned. She tried again. Red. Again. Red. Her father looked confused. Rachel turned around. Daniel? Daniel pulled out his phone. He opened the security app. His face fell. Your access has been removed. Rachel stared at him. What? He looked toward the house. Mom changed the locks. Rachel marched up to the door. She began pounding. Open the door. I stood inside my foyer. Calmly. She pounded again. Open this door right now. I walked to the front door. I didn't unlock it. Instead, I opened the small viewing panel. Rachel saw me. Her expression was furious. You're seriously doing this? I looked at her. You told me to leave. My parents are here. I know. You can't embarrass me like this. I almost smiled. I didn't embarrass you, Rachel. Her face tightened. You did this on purpose. No. I paused. You created this situation yourself. Her mother stepped forward. Mrs. Carter, perhaps we should discuss this calmly. I agree. I opened the speaker. This is my home. You are welcome to visit when invited, but you cannot move into my house without my permission. Rachel shouted. But I'm married to your son. Yes. And I live here. Temporarily. Her father looked at Daniel. Is this her house? Daniel nodded. Yes. Does she own it? Yes. Her father slowly turned toward his daughter. Rachel. She didn't answer. Is she telling the truth? Rachel crossed her arms. She was supposed to let us stay. I spoke quietly. I was supposed to let you stay. Then I looked directly at her. You decided that meant I had to leave. Silence. Her mother looked uncomfortable. Her father looked angry. Not at me. At his daughter. Rachel, he said, we are not staying here. Rachel's eyes widened. Dad. No. But you flew all this way. We can stay at a hotel. She looked at Daniel. Say something. Daniel took a breath. Then he walked to the side porch. He picked up her suitcase. We're going to a hotel. She stared at him. You're taking her side? Daniel looked at her for several seconds. No. He looked back at me. I'm finally taking responsibility for my own. Rachel's expression changed. For the first time, she realized she had lost control of the situation. Not because I had screamed. Not because I had insulted her. But because I had simply stopped allowing her to control me. They left. All four of them. The driveway became quiet again. I closed the door. Locked it. And stood there for a moment. Then I realized something. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even angry. I felt relieved. For 6 months, I had been walking around my own house feeling like an unwanted guest. That night, I sat in my favorite chair. The one Rachel had tried to throw away. I made a cup of tea. And I read my book. For the first time in months, the house felt like mine again. 2 weeks later, Daniel came to see me. Alone. He stood on the porch. He didn't try the door. He knocked. That small gesture told me everything. I opened it. Hi, Mom. Hi. He looked different. Less defensive. More tired. We rented an apartment. I nodded. Good. We're still working on the house we were building. That's good too. He looked at the new lock. I deserved that. I smiled. The lock? No. He shook his head. The lesson. I didn't say anything. He continued. I spent 6 months telling myself I was keeping the peace. He looked down. But I wasn't keeping the peace. What were you doing? Keeping myself comfortable. That was the first honest thing he had said to me in months. I should have protected you. Yes. I should have told Rachel she couldn't treat you that way. Yes. He nodded. I can't change what happened. No. But I can change what happens next. I smiled. That's all anyone can do. He hugged me. Then he stepped back. Can I come visit Sunday? I smiled. Of course. He laughed quietly. Do I need a code? I looked at the keypad. Yes. He raised his eyebrows. Really? I smiled. But I'll give it to you. He laughed. And for the first time in a long time, I laughed too. Because there was a difference between being a mother and being someone's doormat. I could love my son without surrendering my dignity. I could forgive him without pretending nothing had happened. And I could open my door to him without ever again allowing someone else to decide whether I belonged inside it. Rachel had told me I needed to leave before her parents arrived. She thought she was giving me an ultimatum. She didn't realize she was giving me a reminder. It was my home. My life. My choice. And sometimes, the strongest response to someone crossing your boundaries isn't an argument. It is simply closing the door and changing the locks.